everybody, today I will be doing a review of Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Grisha trilogy, the first being Shadow and Bone. First things first, this video will not contain any spoilers for Siege and Storm, but it might contain some spoilers for the first book. So I suggest that if you haven't read the first book in this trilogy, you turn off this video because I do not want to ruin it for you. But if you are sticking around, I am really excited to share some of my thoughts on this book. I finished this sometime last week and I think I gave it 4 stars. My overall thoughts on this book is that I enjoyed it much more than I did the first one. I think the plot really picked up in this one because the last one for me felt like it was just setting up the series. I couldn't yet understand the characters that much. I wasn't that gripped by the plot either, but it changed with this one and I will be expanding on my thoughts on the characters, the plot and the relationships as this video progresses. I know that often with sequels, the second book really feels like a bridge story, but I felt like with this one, it was just moving really well towards the culmination of the trilogy, and it makes me really excited to read the final book in the series. But really the plot of this book was that Alina realizes that she needs to defeat the Darkling and save Ravka. We see the weakening of the royal family and the growth of the Darkling's power after what has happened to him on the Fold in the first book. We begin to see how Alina establishes herself as a leader and assumes more control of her own power and becomes a leader of other people around her. I thought that one of the best things that happened in this book was the development in the characters, and that is one of the things I'd like to talk about now. I think that in this book we're really focusing on 4 main characters. And the one I would like to begin with talking about is Alina. I loved her character development the best out of everyone else's. I think in this book she really moved beyond the sort of naive and meek girl that we meet in the first book. She really comes to accept her power and in doing so become a really powerful Grisha. Another really interesting thing about her character growth was the fact that we were allowed to glimpse into her more corrupted nature, I suppose. Not that she is corrupted, but it's just that we get to see the fact that she's craving power and that she's not just pure good, and that she possesses some dark characteristics herself. And I love the fact that in this book Alina began to assert some control and show leadership, which just shows how central she is to the development of the story and to resolving the conflict that's brewing in her world. Right, the next character that I want to talk about is Mal. Oh, Mal, what are we gonna do with you? I can't make up my mind about that guy. I don't know. I just don't know if I like him or if I dislike him. At the end of Shadow and Bone, I personally really didn't like Mal. I couldn't see him with Alina, and I think that was partly due to the fact that we weren't allowed to see them together that much. Really, they were together for the last sort of section of the book, and even then they were constantly interrupted by the Darkling. So I don't know, I wasn't really on board with their relationship. I just couldn't see it working. And then in this one, there were so many moments that when Mal actually grew on me, I think he was not as irritating as in the first one. I could definitely see how the relationship could work. But there were also so many moments when he was just so self-centered. And I get that Mal is dealing with his own struggles in this book, but I felt like at times he failed to see the bigger picture. But as I said, we do see more of him in this book rather than in the first one. But I still think that a lot of the information about his character we get through Alina rather than through Mal himself. I personally still don't really see why she loves him so much. If you remember from the first book, she constantly thinks about Mal. And I was really hoping that we'd see more of his character in this book to justify those feelings. And as I said, you do see some positive things to Mal, but I don't know, I'm not sure that's enough for me. I'll be talking more about their relationships in just a moment, but I would love to know what your opinion of Mal is, because I can't make up mine. Right, now we're going towards two of my most favourite characters in this trilogy so far. First up, the Darkling. Right, so this character really establishes himself as the villain in this book. Shadow and Bone, we weren't really sure what he wanted or if he was a good guy or bad guy. However, by the end of that book, he still sets himself up to be the villain of the series, and then he really does become the sort of central antagonist in this book. However, he remains one of the most fascinating and complex characters in this trilogy so far. I think the reason everyone is so fascinated with Darkling is the fact that he's so layered, and you're just continuously drawn to him. I don't know why, because he's not a nice guy, and there are definitely some things that are revealed of what he has done that really makes you realize that he is really not nice. But he is still one of the most complex characters in this trilogy, I think. And I honestly cannot wait to see more of him. I think Leigh Bardugo made such a great job with this character because, yes, he's the villain of the series, but he's also not pure evil. So again, those layers that you just really want to uncover as you read more and more about him. And the final character I would like to mention is a new addition to the trilogy. I think I'm not going to say who this person is because he's revealed to be one character, but then we find out his true identity. So I'm not going to say anything, but honestly, I loved him. Those of you who have read this book probably know who I'm talking about, but honestly, I know why everyone loves this character now, because he's also really complex, really layered. But he's also so endearing, and I just loved all the scenes with him. I don't want to say anything more about this character because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but honestly, he is probably the best addition to this trilogy. Like, I love him. And besides all these main characters, we have the addition of some new minor characters, as well as the return of the ones that we've seen in the first book. And we see how they slowly become more integral in Alina's story and her quest to defeat the Darkling. Now, let's talk about relationships. Okay, so answer my question here. Is there a love triangle or is there not a love triangle? I can't tell, because technically there isn't, but then if you add the Darkling into the mixture, it sort of becomes a triangle. I don't know. We see the continuation of the relationship established at the end of the first book between Mal and Alina. And I know I touched a bit on this, I just can't make up my mind about it. I sort of see the way they could work, but there are just so many moments that make me question this relationship. One of the reasons for that, I think, is that, as I said, Mal just appears to be so self-centered at times, and there were just so many moments when I felt that his attitude really pulled Alina down at exactly the moments when we were seeing her grow and become more powerful. Also, there is the fact that neither of these characters are being entirely open or honest with each other in their struggles, and I really think that makes this relationship a bit forced. I'm curious to see if they manage to get through whatever happens in the next book. Honestly, I know this sounds a bit horrible, but I feel like I would like to see Mao as a sort of character that has a tragic death and thereby is removed from the action. I don't know. I don't think I want them to end up together. However, I can't ship Alina with the Darkling. I just feel so guilty because he is not a nice guy, but yet there is so much more, I don't want to say chemistry, but something more heated between those two than I could ever see between Alina and Mal. I honestly think Alina and Mal are great friends. Like, there were so many nice, sweet moments between them, and their humour was really funny at times. But as a proper long-lasting relationship, I'm not sure about that. But I do think that all the scenes between the Darkling and Alina were amazing. I think the tension was just great. I think those two characters have such a great dynamic in each scene that they confront each other. And honestly, I just wish there were more of them. But I think that's all I'm going to mention, because I think if I say anything else, I might spoil it. But as I said, overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was definitely better. For me, it definitely felt better than the last one. I loved the character developments in this book. I loved all the confrontations between the Darkling and Alina. Like, that is all I'm looking forward to in the next one. And as I said, there is this new character that I am so in love with. I mean, what a great addition to this trilogy. On the negative side, I'm still not sure about Mal. I'm not sure if his relationship with Alina works. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed this review. Sorry if it was a bit rambly. I'm sure they'll get better as I go along. But definitely let me know your thoughts about this book if you have read it, or you can message me on any of my social media. Definitely like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!